I'm first of all very happy with what the Center for Social Research is doing in terms of handing over. Because we have a habit, we tend to cling to whatever power or whatever knowledge or whatever experience we have, especially in terms of work. I have rarely seen NGOs that really involve youth, because there is a huge generation gap in this country. And the increasing number of young people in this country is not really acknowledged well enough, according to me. My daughters always say that my feet are kept on the ground by the two of them because they're so critical. But perhaps it is a good thing, because I can understand the need for younger people to be impatient, because things don't move fast enough in this country, which is a fact, whatever the reasons for it may be. 20 years ago, when the meeting on Beijing was held, where we talked about the MDG, etc., if you look today, which is almost 20 years since that, you will find, I don't know really, in fact, and considering that I'm working for the government, perhaps I shouldn't be so frank, sometimes I think we haven't made much progress at all, especially on issues that concern women. I'm not talking about just safety, physical safety or safety in public spaces. That is perhaps the most overt form of it. But I'm talking about things as basic as poverty, conflict, sanitation, of course education, and even their spaces within their own families. Within families itself, women still do not have the freedom that they should have, just in decision making, just in maybe the clothes they wear, where they want to go, what time they want to stay out of the house, what sort of job they want to do. We tend to question our women too much without offering them solutions for why we are asking somebody a particular question. And I think the input of younger people here is absolutely vital, because you tend to think far more out of the box than my generation does. I have to be honest in that. You all come up with solutions that are very, very innovative, and many of them, at least I wouldn't, in an effort to be honest. I sometimes don't think about the sort of solutions that the trainees who used to come into my NGO, now I'm not so active in that, come up with. I used to be very surprised and sometimes quite delighted with some of the solutions they came up with, because they were so easy to implement. We are always thinking of long-winded, long-term, convoluted solutions often, and I find the youngsters just come up and say, no, but all that is just a load of, something that doesn't smell very nice. But why can't we just do it this way? And if I stop to think about it, I find that their solution is probably much better than what I was thinking about, despite my experience, etc. So I'm really very happy to see youngsters being involved in this discussion, debate, or whatever we want to call it. There are 12 issues that have already been flagged by the center here, and I don't think I need to repeat myself ad nauseum, because everybody here is an expert, probably knows much more about a lot of these things than I do. But what I would like to say is that the government today is very keen on participating in not just a proactive manner, but also in a manner that is both resourceful and sustainable in terms of women's development. It may sound a little difficult or far-fetched, or you may find it difficult to accept it. But the fact is that when I first was given this job, the only thing that I asked was, does it have to be a political job? Can I do it because of my experience that I've had in working in the social sector? Can I do it without fear or favor? And surprisingly, I was told, yes, you can. And so far, despite my sometimes, I was told that statement that I made on legalization of sex work, inflammatory, some people called it, I have not been pulled up, which is a very heartening thing for the entire women's perspective. Because as you know, in India, we are very, very orthodox in our attitude towards women, and sex workers are not even considered women by most people in this country, even today. Unfortunately, the meeting in New York, I think, is going to be around the time when the budget session is on. So, both Ranjana ji and I are trying our best to see that there is some sort of significant government presence in the meeting. I am comparatively junior in the hierarchy, or somewhere in the middle. Well, both of us are working as hard as we can to see that we get a significant government presence there, because one of the issues in the government is that the exposure is more at the non-political or the bureaucratic level. The politicians are the one who end up making the plans and talk about. I don't know how much we really know about sustainability in terms of women's empowerment. Empowerment is not a static thing and cannot be static. It moves, it changes. The concept of empowerment, perhaps the basic concept remains static, but the variables around it keep changing, and ours is a very, very changeable country. You have religion, you have education, you have a plethora of things, and culture, the other thing. That's always impeding efforts to women's empowerment. And politicians do need more exposure. In a global forum, you hear a huge number of voices, often from people who come from very similar circumstances, difficult circumstances. This is not an easy country for women's empowerment. Looking at me or looking at Ranjana ji or the women sitting here, we are the lucky ones. We are the really lucky ones. Most of the women in this country, they don't even know that they can be empowered. Forget about knowing the laws, forget about knowing other things. Ranjana ji was talking about connecting with this university in Punjab, where they won't know what empowerment means. But they do know that they want to get out of that, that little cocoon or whatever you want to call it, the closed doors behind which they are normally forced to stay. If possible, we'll try and see that the minister herself makes it to New York. Otherwise, we are hoping that there will be a few more senior politicians who could come along to the meeting, because as I said, we need exposure. And without being part of a discussion that will be, I think, as wide-ranging and as important as what is going on, as what is going to go on in New York in March, all these new laws that are going to be changed, framed, amended, etc., they may have lacunae in them. We do have inputs from people like Dr. Nair, but we need a lot more of that sort of person around within the government, whose inputs will be listened to also. The politics of women's empowerment is also there. Fortunately, if we are able to get the current dispensation on board, because there is a simple majority in the Lok Sabha, and when the Houses of Parliament sit together, we still have a majority. If we are able to push the right buttons and place it before them in such a way that they could accept it. And there are many ways of doing this. Politics is a very funny, it's a very, winding road sort of. It's not straight at all. There is a good hope, and I know this personally, there is a very good hope that a lot of fairly path-breaking amendments, etc., can be made. For example, in education, I am talking to the person who is now more or less the advisor there, unofficial or otherwise. And they are, when I was talking to them about this whole thing around value education, I was able to convince them that please don't use those words. The moment you use those words, there will be a huge outcry. And could we please make it more practical? Jot down the points that you want, that you think is part of it, but please let it include things like environment, let it include things like water, not just about good versus bad. Let it include things like training of women, that is skills building. And there's a huge amount of funds now available for it. And I was talking even about skills building around sanitation. So in the beginning, some of them said, but we don't even know what you're saying. We don't understand. What do you mean? I had to explain in some depth. This is when I realized that a lot more exposure, as I was saying before, is needed. And I don't want to give a longer lecture. I'm sure Rebecca will have much more important things to say than I do. But I will be here till the afternoon. After that I have another meeting for which I have to leave. But I would like to, listen to the inputs that we're getting today, especially from the younger people here, so that my own perspective, wherever it needs to get a jolt or to be changed a bit, that can be done with it. And I'd also like to say that the National Commission of Women now is going to focus more on issues and policy. which is already part of our mandate, and not just on giving sound bites to television where there are, sensational murders or divorces or, violent things that happen in this country which go on every day. I know maybe that sounds a bit callous because there's so much violence against women every day that comes to me, that I have realized that instead of just merely reacting all the time to what has happened, we need to put preventive policies in place. And that is what I'd like to ask all of you to come up with. Ideas and solutions for how prevention can take place. Because we can't make anything sustainable in this country in terms of empowerment unless we have preventive policies. And violence I'm not just talking about physical violence. I am talking about the various forms in which women are denied their rights, whether you call them human rights, reproductive rights, across the board. And unless we start putting preventive policies in place from now, I think the next plus 20 also, we may have to say roughly what I've just said, that what is the change that we've really seen. So please, forgive me for being late once again. And also I'd like to say that the NCW would be very happy to have students come in on a part-time basis and work with us. So if you know anybody in colleges, Jamia is here, I think there are lots of young people here. There's no age bar. Younger students are preferable. That's my personal preference because, as I said, your perspective is very different. But we'd really like to have you all come in and intern with us. Some of the work may be a little boring, but we are now looking at input from people who are not permanent members or staffers of the NCW, because we do tend to get bogged down in the number of complaints we receive, which is some 70,000 every year. But, and every month now we will be having at least 2 workshops in various different aspects of what affects women. In this year we've had 2. One is on the rights of disabled women and empowerment. And the other that we did just recently was, I don't think you can call it a review, but we did a sort of semi-training, come review, come everything, with people who work in the media. Not the way the media promotes or portrays women, but actually people from different, and not just, I said it can't be just films and TV, it has to be other stuff. So we had people come in from the print media, come in from social media, people who run blogs, etc. And it was very, very interesting. I was surprised at what people came up and talked about. So I'd like to end by saying that please, all you youngsters, please let your friends, etc. know that we would welcome people who come in. Whether you want to come in as a trainee or not, we'll have to look at that. But definitely you can come in for short periods where you all can give us your input. Thank you.